Welcome, everyone. Josh with Severe Weather. I'm a meteorologist in the Raleigh area. Appreciate you joining me here with this emergency update as we have a moderate risk for a major tornado outbreak this afternoon and tonight in parts of the Deep South, and severe weather continuing into the eastern United States for your Sunday. And I apologize here. I've been traveling with family here, so going to kind of be pretty quick with this and on my laptop. So not my best work, but you know what? We've got to get this important information out to everybody. You can see right now where we've got the warm air surging northward here. Temperatures in the 60s and 70s, even 50s, all the way up to places like Detroit and Cincinnati. There is a bit of a cold air wedge still going all the way down to about the Atlanta and Macon area. So for now, things are just going to be kind of cruddy in the eastern United States, especially here in the mid-Atlantic. But that will change as we get into tomorrow, and this warm air surges northeastward along with faster wind flow aloft. Now, colder air is lurking. You can see it across parts of the west and the north central states, but it's going to take a little bit of time before this simmers its way down off to the south and east. By the time we get past New Year's Day and into next week, things are going to turn a lot colder. And instead of severe weather, we'll be talking about winter weather. Now, let's take a look at the water vapor image, and you can see where our intense storm system is right now. Upper level trough cutting down through Texas and Oklahoma. This is going to track east and northeastward here to the eastern seaboard tomorrow and move off the coast by Monday. Now, we are going to have some wintry weather here as the cold air gradually leaves the Great Lakes and Northeast, but things are going to very quickly warm up, and you can see where things are beginning to explode now. And I know my black pen's a little tough to see here over parts of the Deep South. Here's a closer look at where things have already kind of gone off here this morning. So we can see kind of one area here that did have tornado warnings with it earlier in parts of western and central Louisiana. That is heading northeast towards the Jackson, Mississippi area. We've got to watch the tail end of it near New Orleans and St. Tammany Parish as that moves northeastward. But the area we're going to have to focus on later today is this area that is going to become more unstable as the air gets hotter here and skies clear out. And did want to see if I can show you all the visible on this. I don't think I can. Maybe I can. But you all can see here where the sun is going to be popping out. So you see the thunderstorm tops here very high across parts of northeast Texas, southern Arkansas, northern Louisiana, and as well across the Florida parishes in southwest Mississippi. But the area that we're going to have to focus on later on this morning into the afternoon is when we're going to see the sun popping back out. This area is going to move northeastward. And as the winds aloft begin to increase and wind shear increases, that's when our threat for storms is going to get a lot worse. And as a result, the Storm Prediction Center has us under a moderate risk of severe weather here this afternoon and tonight. And that encompasses all of central Louisiana, northeastern Louisiana, central Mississippi, into far western Alabama, and enhanced risk all the way up into southeastern Arkansas, all the way to about Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, just west of Montgomery, so Selma, Alabama, down to Mobile, down to near Biloxi and Gulfport, down to Mandeville, down to Baton Rouge, down to Lafayette, Lake Charles, and all the way back into the Piney Woods region of Texas. And this morning, a slight risk for severe weather continues across the Dallas-Fort Worth area, all the way down to near College Station and close to Houston. And that area got hit 2 days ago, right after Christmas, with severe weather. Now, as the night wears on, we have to be concerned with what's going to happen down in here overnight as people are sleeping, because all of this is going to shift eastward here. And we're going to talk about kind of the timing on that. And then as we get to tomorrow, that threat continues farther north and east. Now, here is whoops, sorry about that. Here's a current look at the NOAA weather radar. And you can see right now, we do have a tornado watch in yellow from about Tyler and Longview on down to near Beaumont and across much of Louisiana and to about Jackson, Hattiesburg, and just south of Meridian, Mississippi. We do also have a severe thunderstorm watch. That's this pink area across North Texas, the Arklatex, southeast Oklahoma, all the way to just south of Little Rock. And there has been dense fog this morning as well, all the way up into the central and northern plains. Here's a view of the first piece of energy moving out, and there is going to be some winter weather, some freezing rain, some light snow over parts of the capital region of New York into western Mass and northern Maine. And then we've got another system in the west that we're going to track here towards New Year's Eve. But right now, that's going to be a West Coast issue with heavy mountain snow and heavy rain near the coastline. So getting back to this for today and tonight, you can see this hatched area where tornadoes that could be EF2 or stronger, so strong tornadoes, the kind that can kill folks, is over a pretty large area. About 3 million Americans are in this area, and the area in red is where the chances are highest. As the afternoon wears on, we're going to see this chance climbing. It's not just tornadoes we have to be worried about, but widespread hurricane force winds over 74 miles per hour across the hatched area here. And that whether or not we get a tornado warning is going to cause damage. In the Jackson, Mississippi area, Natchez, Alexandria, even Baton Rouge, over to Franklinton, Louisiana, Hattiesburg, into western Alabama here, north of Mobile, to near Tuscaloosa is the area at greatest risk for that. We could see hail in this area as well. Some of that could be big, but really the wind and the tornado threat is going to be of greatest concern. You can see here from the public weather outlook here from Norman, folks are expecting these tornadoes. Some of them could be intense, and several of these tornadoes could have a longer track, could be on the ground for more than 30 minutes, maybe even more than an hour. And that's what we're going to be watching here this afternoon. Now, right now, we do have this tornado watch area and what's called a confluence band where the air masses kind of come together in a curved area here near the warm front. So this is the area of greatest concern through early afternoon. It's south of Longview, maybe about Lufkin and Crockett, Texas, and then moving across the reservoir here towards places like Natchitoches, Louisiana. As the afternoon wears on, where this warm front lifts north, that's where the wind shear is going to be highest, and we're going to see that threat growing as well. So we may see a couple tornadoes still this morning, but really it's going to be the afternoon when things start to head downhill very quickly here, and that's where we're going to likely see supercells, rotating thunderstorms that sustain themselves for a while out ahead of what might be a main band of thunderstorms. Here's a look at the mid-level pattern. Winds here at about 10,000 feet, picking up as the afternoon wears on. You see these reds and yellows, 60 to 70 knot winds here at about 10,000 feet. That continues to pick up into this evening around 7, 8 o'clock as our trough begins to lift northeastward here. And then that threat continues to grow tomorrow as it moves out of this area. Here's a look at what the storms look like here on our surface map. Low pressure over North Texas. We're going to see that pressure dropping here. You can kind of see where our boundary is set up right in here. And we're going to see storms kind of picking up in the warm sector here as the afternoon wears on. And then all that heads east in a broken band of what could be discrete supercells. This is what we call a quasi-linear convective system, QLCS. That's going to spread eastward here overnight tonight. Those are the ones that can be the most dangerous oftentimes. And then tomorrow it gets a lot drier and a lot cooler. Here's a look at what the radar could look like here this afternoon. This is at about 1 o'clock, noon to 1 o'clock, and you can see it's going to get active in northwest Louisiana. And let me move that step by step for you all to see here. Just a band of damaging storms from southwest Louisiana all the way up to about the Delta region here at about 6 o'clock tonight. There will be individual cells ahead of this in Mississippi that could have rotation and could have a few stronger tornadoes. And then this all marches east as the night wears on. I want to zoom in to show you here kind of a state by state what things are going to look like. So we're going to take a look at Louisiana first. And this is going to be late this morning here. And as the day wears on, we are going to see some pretty intense storms here. And if I pull up a sounding just to kind of give you an idea of what's out there, you are going to see that tornado potential hazard. Winds pick up aloft pretty significantly here, over 60 knots aloft here. And so there's a potential here for maybe a stronger tornado from about mid-afternoon on. This is about 5 o'clock. And as we take this eastward here, you'll see individual supercells and then the main line that comes through here about 7 o'clock in Lafayette, 8 o'clock in Baton Rouge. New Orleans gets it just before midnight tonight. And let me back that up just a couple for you here. Jackson gets it around 8, 9 o'clock tonight. Meridian gets it about 10 or 11. And then this all moves out to the east. Looking farther on into Alabama and Mississippi, I do want to give you all some time frames here as well. Whoops, sorry about that. You can see here, we've got to watch some storms this morning as they lift up into northern Mississippi, but the main storms start popping up near to the north of Jackson here, maybe places like Vicksburg, Rolling Fork, Greenville, Yazoo City, late this afternoon, areas that are no strangers to strong tornadoes, unfortunately. And the threat continues through about 7, 8 o'clock. And then this is when things could get really bad along the Interstate 55 corridor. And then things move into western Alabama here after 10 o'clock. So right before midnight, we will have that threat for tornadoes in Tuscaloosa. Just after midnight in Birmingham and Huntsville, Montgomery, Monroeville, Mobile, and Baldwin County will be at risk here overnight. And then western Florida is going to be at risk overnight. And then things move through the Atlanta area here about 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. We will take a look at tomorrow here in just a second. And you can see there is a slight risk all the way up into southern Virginia, marginal risk into Ohio and western PA. The Carolinas are at risk here for severe weather. Georgia certainly is, eastern Alabama, and northern parts of Florida. And as we zoom in here, you can see the tornado chances do start to come up in the afternoon in eastern Georgia, the Midlands, Metrolina, Charlotte area, all the way up to about the Triad and maybe even the Triangle here towards the evening tomorrow night. I do think this tornado threat may have to extend farther south into central and southern Georgia, maybe even into the low country and the coastal empire, close to places like Pooler, and maybe even northern Florida here. You can see a large area of severe wind, and I do want to take this down to show you here, South Florida as well. You can see this threat for damaging storms gets down to the Panhandle, and it also gets down close to Interstate 4 here in the afternoon and early evening tomorrow night. Here's a look at that system for you all to see here. This is the southeast. You can see winds aloft pick up here pretty significantly here tonight. And then everything rotates eastward here. And this is the area to be concerned with for wind damage moving into the Western Carolinas, North Georgia, the Midlands area here in the afternoon. This is early afternoon tomorrow, but we even have fast wind flow down into South Georgia and North Florida. And that's an area I would be watching for maybe an upgrade to an enhanced risk for severe weather. Everything moves out here later tomorrow evening. We'll have quieter, much cooler weather as we get to early next week. And we'll get to enjoy that before winter comes early next year. Here's a look at what the radar is going to look like here this evening. You can see the storms rolling quickly eastward here, and then a line of storms moves into the Atlanta area around sunrise tomorrow. Maybe a second line. We'll have to keep an eye on that here late morning, but this will march on into the Carolinas as we get later into the afternoon. Here's a second line that I am a little bit more concerned with in this area here. This puts us at about 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow, and this is all going to march eastward here as the afternoon wears on. It should fade more when it gets into central Florida, but eastern Carolinas need to be watching this more closely. Here's a look at what the radar may look like here. And you can see Alabama is going to be a mess overnight tonight. Watch this line down towards Pensacola, Gulf Shores, those areas here during the very early morning hours tomorrow. Tallahassee, Valdosta, watch this tomorrow morning. Atlanta, Macon, Warner Robins. And then in the afternoon, we have a second line that we need to watch in here as well. And I am going to zoom in and show you all Georgia so that you can see that here real quick here. So you can see here's a line of storms moving in overnight tonight, early tomorrow morning. And you'll see there's kind of a second push behind this area as this moves in towards the I-77 corridor around lunchtime. This is the second area we're going to have to watch. And there will be some wind shear in here to be keeping an eye on. You can kind of see here if we look at a sounding, you can see there is tornado possibilities here with kind of a second wave taking over. The wind shear increases. We have a southerly wind at the surface, west-southwest aloft. That turning could certainly be ripe for a few tornadoes with that band as it marches through here. And then it'll start to fade when it gets to the coast around 4 or 5 o'clock. Maybe Myrtle Beach, though. Keep an eye on things here around 6 o'clock before things wind down. I'm going to take you a little bit farther north here so you can see what's going on up into the Ohio Valley, mid-Atlantic states. We, too, have to be watching for severe weather as these winds aloft do increase. It won't be as unstable, but it will be rough here as we get in through the afternoon hours tomorrow. We're going to have lingering rain moving northeastward here in the morning. Then you can see a broken line of storms from about Wheeling, West Virginia, stretching down into the mountains and moving through the Triad and near Charlotte here. And this time frame's at about 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon Eastern time. Notice our low pressure is moving northeast and strengthening. That increases our wind fields. And what that can mean is maybe some isolated severe storms here across Ohio as well. This will weaken as it moves eastward here into the mid-Atlantic states, but gusty winds will be a possibility. Then there'll be some wet snow on the backside here around the eastern Great Lakes overnight tomorrow night into the first part of the day on Monday. Here's a look at the radar for this afternoon. We just see scattered light to moderate rain lifting northeast. Heavier rain moves into the area from the west, East Tennessee, Eastern Kentucky. Watch out for some localized flooding. Western Carolinas and Virginia, we need to be watching out as well for this. And then this is going to march eastward here, and very quickly we'll be off the coast by late tomorrow evening. Here's a closer look at our rainfall totals. Actually, you know what? I'm going to come back to this. I do want to zoom in real quick and just kind of show you Ohio here, because we do have to watch this area of storms as it moves eastward here. This is 8 in the morning. We get a break and then kind of keep an eye on some of these here as they pop up. Some colder core type low pressure system here. And what this is going to do here is give us a little bit of what we call helicity, some turning in the atmosphere as that low tracks into the area. So it's not super high, but it is something that we need to be keeping an eye on. Obviously, it's worse when we get down into the mid-Atlantic, and I can show that to you here in just a second. You can kind of see here more turning off into West Virginia, Eastern Tennessee, Southwest Virginia here as we get into the late morning and early afternoon hours. But I don't think we're talking a major tornado outbreak tomorrow compared to what we're dealing with today, but we do need to watch out for some stronger winds across this area, and that does include Western North Carolina. Now, speaking of Western North Carolina, I am more concerned about the amount of rain that is headed your direction here tomorrow. You can see the yellows indicating places like Brevard, Pisgah Forest could pick up over 4 inches of rain. So the first potential flooding that we've seen since Hurricane Helene back in October across this area. We'll have heavy rain as well down south, but I think the areas of greatest concern are going to be here in the mountains. And I am going to show that to you here real quick, just so you can get an idea of what the model blend looks like. But this is the rain through next week, and you can see amounts could get over 4 inches. Upstate South Carolina, a couple of inches, including Clemson and places like Pickens. Places like Rabun County could see 3 inches of rain. Probably nuisance flooding, not major. We're not talking about a repeat of Helene, but, obviously these folks here have had enough, and this is going to cause some problems. So if you're in these areas, I'm thinking about you. I'm praying for your safety, but do be prepared here for some potential low-lying flooding and some nuisance flooding here. And that extends up to places like Boone and West Jefferson, all the way up towards maybe Galax and Hillsville here in Virginia as well. So we got to be worried about that. In the longer term, we are going to turn colder here, and we are going to see some snow here this weekend and into early next week across eastern Canada, but most of our weather is going to be in the west. As we move past that, though, you'll see snow totals coming up in the east. And I'm going to talk about this more in the videos next week after I get back to North Carolina, but here it comes. Much colder weather. Pieces of the polar vortex drop down, and we are going to be in for some true winter here. We didn't see a lot of it last winter, but some true winter extending for a couple of weeks across the east and the central U.S. Then it backs into the west towards the end of the month of January. Here's a look at what that snow could look like. And these are just week-long totals, but you can see the week ending January 6th or 7th is going to start picking up here in the Northeast and Great Lakes. And we start to see better chances getting down into places like Arkansas and Tennessee and Kentucky and the Carolinas, maybe even down to Louisiana, Mississippi. Again, this is just an ensemble here, so this could be quite a bit different. But you can see this is definitely looking more bullish for snow in the Northeast, in the Ohio Valley, in the Tennessee Valley, maybe even in the Carolinas here. So that's the GFS extended. Here is a look at the European extended. And you know what? It's looking pretty good as well here in the Northeast for the first 2 weeks of January. It's also looking somewhat decent in the Ohio and Tennessee valleys, into the Central Plains, and even into the Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina areas. And there's always hope that something happens south of I-40. We're just going to have to wait and see on that. So I appreciate everybody's time today. I'm praying for everybody's safety. I am a Christian, and I truly believe that God is good, and that if you choose to operate in faith, not in fear, that he will come through for you. But I just pray for everybody's safety here. John 3:15, 16, and 17, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have eternal life. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. For God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. And that is the good news I wanted to share with you all today. I pray for everybody's safety. Please be safe out there. Please, tonight, have a weather radio, have ways to receive your watches and warnings. And don't go to sleep on this weather tomorrow in the Southeast. It could still be pretty rough. I'll catch up with you all here close to New Year's Eve, but I hope everybody has a great rest of your December. And please be safe. Take care.